Four-line snake. First time I've bred these. Let's just hope they hatch, because the babies of these are beautiful. Guys, welcome back to the channel. Another vlog, another week's gone by. Jackie and I worked double hard yesterday to free up some time today, and we're actually giving ourselves a complete day off. We've took the dogs for a run before it got too hot, took them home, and now we're out for a nice walk. We've actually drove a fair way, dropped the car off in a Riverside car park a few miles away, packed some food and drink, and we're actually going to walk all the way down the river and then drive home. Hawthorn is going over slowly now. The cow pasture is up, there's some comfrey there. But guys, the seasons are changing fast. Look at this. Don't miss the beauty of spring. Look at that. Get outside now. Whoa, the glory of the May, the English May in the countryside is there, or wherever you're living. Look at this. Guys, get outside, go and do something outside, take your kids outside, look at all of this absolute stunning glory. It's been one of the best springs ever for the flowers, I think. I think the cool and the very, very wet spring, loads of moisture in the ground. Now the sun's come out to warm everything. Rather than the drought springs we've had for the last 3 or 4 years, there's moisture there to fuel these plants to just grow and flower profusely. Look at this. But it is going mad. We're heading from spring to summer right now. Everything's up. Don't miss it. Don't miss the rest of the vlog. So down here on the River Nen, it's famous for its gravel workings all the way. Northamptonshire is full of gravel pits. And the good thing is, just like this brand new one here, once flooded, they become fantastic homes for wildlife. And there's certainly going to be, look at that cormorant over there sunbathing. There's certainly going to be way more wildlife in here in the next 10 years than up there in a monocrop. So they've changed what was farmland. Already you've got grebes down there, little grebe with a whole family behind her. And when this all grows up, the vegetation, the stuff in there is going to be phenomenal. Water brings it all to you. So Jackie often says, Dave, stop stopping taking pictures and videos. It's just so beautiful, guys. It is my passion, is this wildlife of the world and British wildlife in the countryside. How can I not share this with you and try and get you to love it for yourselves?
Wow!
It's a little sort of backwater of the main river. You probably can't see them, but there's fish absolutely everywhere. Beautiful. All the weeds are up. It's an absolute nursery. I don't know if the phone's going through the surface glare. Full of silverfish, roach mostly. Like the chock-a-block. Sadly, here in Northamptonshire, back in the day when I was a kid, all these edges here and all the edges of the locks over there would have had dozens and dozens and dozens of three-spined sticklebacks living along the edges there. Now, for the past few decades, or certainly the past 20 years, all gone. And yet, this part of the river is chock-a-block with fish. They succumb to being covered in fish lice and a fungal disease, but never seen them bounce back around here. So my cold is absolutely stinking right now. Just want some sympathy. Yesterday was all about going up there and going up to Mansfield and picking up a mate for our reticulated python super dwarf. We've got a pure breed. What was it now? This is how is it? Kayawadi Local super dwarf retic, pure and natural colouring, as a future mate for our golden child reticulated python. Excuse me, I am. Whew. So this year, going on the fact that the snakes I'm breeding this year are going to come out okay, and the market's buoyed up. Last year was terrible because of the electricity prices. No one was buying reptiles. I've got to get the snakes now when they're available from other breeders. I can't leave it until late autumn when I've sold all my snakes. So there is a little bit of a gamble, sort of hedging your bets and moving money around. So this year we should almost have everything paired up, but watch this video on the screen. Let's say it's going to be here somewhere, and that'll give you more information on what I'm doing now, pairing up the snakes and the trip to get that snake. Today we've got Lily, awful cold. I'm sort of keeping my distance from her, bless her. But we have been off doing errands, a bit of daily life really. It is all about, you know, you get a bit of time off, like a day free, but really you're running around getting stock, getting feeds for the animals at Icarus, getting feeds for the animals here. We did go to a garden centre. I wanted a big spray bottle to mist some of the animals in the reptile room. And what's great to see now, in the last few years, house plants have had a massive resurgence. So now the indoor part of a garden centre isn't all tapped for your house. It has now, for most of them, they're branching out again, as you think a garden centre should have. Big areas full of house plants. And our local one, if you time it just right, I don't know what, it's just luck. I don't know when they do this, but they price down, Jackie's singing nursery rhymes. They price down plants that have got a withered leaf or a little bit going over. So I rotate them through the house, and then things that have flowered that I brought previously, they go into places like this, orchids and things, and other enclosures to fill up, make the enclosures more natural. And if they're only costing a couple of quid each, I don't care if they die. Well, I do care if they die, of course I do, but they're worth the gamble is all I'm trying to say. I'm going to turn you around because I'm actually upgrading the millipedes enclosure, and I'll show you another millipede that came into someone's luggage. So this is just a giant millipede that's employed for our school education, African giant train millipede, sort of a classic really. Don't breed them, just have one. We've just upgraded a setup because the thing she's been in for a while isn't really deep enough. It's fine until, this is where people come unstuck with millipedes like this. When they shed their skin, their exoskeleton, they need to dig a tunnel in just slightly damp substrate, and they'll take quite a long time hiding down there until their new skin has hardened. So you can't be poking them and digging them up at this stage, and it's the stage people usually lose their giant millipedes, in that skin shedding stage. And one thing they really do well of, we just saw this locally in a cheap shop, is they really want 6 or 8 inches of substrate that they can, the hole's compact enough that they can burrow down into. And then on top of there, so that's a cheap fibrous compost mixed with some sand, mixed with some rotting vegetation. On top of that, some coir, and then this will be done. We need to renew oak and beech leaves, rotten oak and beech leaves, thick layer on top, with some rotten oak wood that the millipedes can actually eat, as well as their various feedstuffs. So, new enclosure for this guy. I'm going to show you another one, if I can find it, a much smaller millipede.
indeed. So this little thing came in on someone's luggage from their holiday to Sri Lanka. It's actually a common species, very pretty. Causes a pest in thatch roofs. It eats the thatch roofs and rains poo down on people's heads living in their houses. Very common out there, but very pretty. Little millipede. It'll just sort of live out its days here and part of the collection. So the false water cobra is due to lay eggs in 1 or 2 more days. You can see the scales are really stretched apart, called scale stretch, where she's really gravid and full of eggs. And they're big, they're as big as a chicken's egg, these ones. So she's just checking out her nest box. They get really sort of overactive and literally nesting mode. They're looking for the best place to lay their eggs. Very active, but now she's settled and she's gone in a nest box, checking that out. So probably going to lay eggs tomorrow, but we'll see. Not long. Tomorrow or the next day, I think. But false water cobras, the first snake I ever tried to breed other than the local grass snakes as a kid. And when these guys hatch, still very exciting. I love it. I love every minute of seeing the little babies and different colours and patterns. And they're such a great snake. They're a really great snake to be able to produce for people. A big colubrid snake that makes just a fantastic pet and an interesting snake to keep. Honestly can't remember whether I've shown you guys Mark or not. So Andrew Mark II, shortened for Mark. Annoyingly, I really hoped he was a boy, but he's a girl. And they just don't grow anything like as big. The African bullfrog already eats fully grown mice. You can imagine what the males must be able to put in their mouths. So the fish in the little aquarium upstairs in our bedroom are kind of overproducing. All these endless guppies, there's a few mollies. All of these I've taken out because they're surplus. Look at that lot. Surplus to requirements and constantly loads more. Okay, so this week's book review, this is the real book, but if you're on Audible and you like countryside or especially fishing, get yourself this, for goodness sakes. It's on Audible and it's actually so well read, you really think you're listening to the guy himself. Different from the book, much easier to follow, even though it's read in the oldie worldy way. Much easier to follow. It is, I believe, the most printed book outside of the Bible. So we're talking proper quality. But the Audible version, honestly guys, you will love it. And if you're a fisherman, you will love it more. If you like nostalgia, the countryside, the fascination of the things they knew already And the things they just didn't know. They didn't know where swallows and bats went for the winter. They really thought that maybe pike were spawned from pickerel weed and they were little offshoots of the leaves that grew into pike. All those things, because remember, we know stuff, accumulated knowledge. The more the centuries go by, these guys were working it out for themselves. They really didn't know. An absolutely fascinating read. But for goodness sake, if you can, get this book, Isaac Walton's The Complete Angler. Guys, it's a book you've got to get if you're on Audible or in real life. Absolutely brilliant. Hope you've enjoyed this week's vlog. I'll see you in the next one. But do me a favour. Please subscribe. See you soon.